Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of the Vito x DINO podcast. I am Butch Cassidy. This is the Sundance Kid.
Hi everyone, I'm Dean Haspiel, the Sundance Kid.
Obviously, that's a tip of the hat to Robert Redford, who just passed away this week. I'm sure we'll talk about him shortly. How's it going, Dean?
Great. Which one was he again? Was he Sundance or Butch Cassidy? Redford.
Yes, I'm pretty sure
Yes.
it's Butch Cassidy.
See,
But
I'm thinking Sundance Kid.
I'm gonna go to IMDb, a man's best friend.
What was the last Robert Redford movie you saw? Probably you'd seen it before, but what was I remember the last time I watched a Robert Redford movie.
I mean, I just watched Winter Soldier a couple of days ago. So that's
Okay,
the last one I watched, um,
right.
even though I had watched it before. Um, Probably wasn't 3 Days of the Condor. Might have been because I did watch that relatively recently, like within the last 4 years.
Hmm.
And otherwise, I watch Winter Soldier just about all the time, which is ridiculous. I really do. Like, there's so much in it that I enjoy. Like I just like it's kind of like a comfort movie to me.
Right.
Like it's like I watch it and I can just shut my brain off and just watch. He was the
I,
dance kid.
He was the Sundance Kid.
Yes.
I had a roommate, Christian Urich, aka Cooley C.
Yes.
He's had a few bands, Cooley's Hotbox, and he now has Tortured Soul.
Mhm.
And when he lived with me, and I've done comics about him, being my roommate, but when
Oh,
we
I
lived with each
remember.
other, he would his comfort movie was Silence of the Lambs,
Oh, weird.
and I was like, every night I'd be hearing like Clarice, and all this stuff, and I'm like, I can't go to sleep while he's
Yeah.
like snoring, and I'm like, dude, I can't do this anymore. And it was a VHS tape that went in one of those TVs that also had like a cassette player
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
embedded in it,
Yeah.
one of those things, and it was like every night, and I was like, you got to stop it, man. But it made me wonder what would my comfort movie to ease me to sleep or whatever, because you've seen it a million times. I've only seen Winter Soldier twice.
Really.
I
I've
need to see
probably
that.
I've probably seen it upwards to 20, but definitely about 15 times.
Wow.
Like it's not like I watch it and I like first you watch it because you want to watch it, then you watch it because you were entertained, then you watch it to kind of see like the little how the magic's made and stuff, and then you know after that you're just like I want to watch something, but I don't know what to watch. Let me watch this because at least I know I'll enjoy watching it. So you just keep watching, and then that just happens. Like the other night, I ended up watching Baby Driver, but I almost watched Infinity War
Mm.
because again, it's another one that I'm just like now I'm just so in the groove of it that I can just kind of like I will I'll have my earbuds in when I'm watching because I'm watching on my phone and I'll just get up, I'll go to the kitchen and I can hear it and I'm still listening to the movie and I'm still engaged. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
But I can do other
Interesting.
things.
I God, you were just talking about the superhero. What would be? Oh no, I just lost it. It had something to do with what we were just talking about. Now I'm blanking. It'll come back to me.
I mean, I can throw out other ones like The Thin Man is another comfort movie. I can watch that and kind of just
right.
like fall into it. William Powell, Myrna Loy, the first one. I've never watched any of the sequels, but the first one is just perfectly perfectly made, like classic movie. Ghostbusters is another one. Like
Huh.
I've Ghostbusters and Raiders of the Lost Ark, um, and Back to the Future. Those three movies in my estimation, and I'm not a film critic or anything like that. I didn't go to film school, but I did study, filmmaking for a little bit on my own.
Hmm.
Um, and I have plenty of friends that are filmmakers like you. Um, but those three movies, Ghostbusters, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Back to the Future, to me are perfectly made. Like
Hmm.
I don't find any like I've tried. I don't find any flaw in the plot, in speed of storytelling. There's like perfect amount of time to watch it. I don't find any flaw in direction, in acting. Like I don't find anybody, like that doesn't seem believable in their role. Uh,
Mm,
those three, just for me, like I can watch those and just be kind of. Jaws might be another one. Um, Although
mm,
I admit to not watching Jaws as much as I've watched the other three that I named, but Jaws is pretty
mm.
perfect as well. Um,
So I just remember what I was going to say, but I was going to say if I had to pick a comfort movie, I'd have to test it out a little bit. But I think a perfect movie, and I think there's other things I've been thinking about now that I'm thinking about. It's The Wizard of Oz,
yeah,
and it's not only a great story about so many things, including making friends with misfits, to deal with good and evil. Um, but it's speculative memoir.
have
Even though
you?
it's like a dream, she
Yeah,
has to, in the dream, be challenged by things and have to figure out what she would do,
right.
you know, if that's what the story actually is, because then she wake up after the tornado and it
Yeah,
all was a dream, and you were there and you were there and Toto was there and everybody was
yeah.
there in
The
the
thing
dream.
is, her journey is very simple. Like she just has to appreciate what she has at home instead of wanting to run away. Meanwhile, who can blame her for wanting to run away? There was a tornado that ripped her house apart.
Totally.
Like, um, and the only reason why she wanted to run away is because somebody threatened her dog.
Right.
Like, there are real problems in the world, Dorothy Gale. like, I don't know
Well,
how you can just because some old lady wants to put your dog down,
right.
she got bit.
Right.
Like, I mean,
But
that's a reasonable thing if you watch Judge Judy. You know what I mean?
no, oh, totally. And it's funny. I'm going to show you this. I don't know if it's real. I'm putting this on YouTube for a second. You'll see it's a little clip read. It's I think it's from TV Guide,
Yes.
and I may have I ever read this to you.
No, but I have seen that picture before.
Uh, the way they described the Wizard of Oz was transported to a surreal landscape. A young girl kills the first person she meets, and then teams up with three strangers to kill again. It's like La Femme Nikita or something. Like, what the hell? Like, oh my God, it's
Yeah, it's pretty
insane.
good.
But I was gonna say my comfort, not, and it's not a comfort, but when I'm in that, what you were talking about, how you're like, oh, I might want to put on something, but I don't know what to watch, and it's sort of late enough that you're willing to put on something that you've seen before and go to sleep or whatever. For me, I will go through Netflix or Hulu or whatever, and I'll pick movies there's no way I would ever watch,
Huh.
and I start them. And then I'm like, sometimes it's like, oh, this is actually pretty good,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I watch it and I continue. And sometimes it's like, yeah, that sucks. There's no way. So I kind of test run things as my little, not comfort, but as a way to, like, that you have another 20 minutes in you,
Mhm.
you know, and my eyes are too blurry to read,
Yeah, yeah.
or I don't want to think because I'm gonna shoot myself in the head if I think too hard, you know.
Mhm.
So you want that escape. That's how I kind of escape sometimes. So
I
anyway.
I've like I was last night I was watching one of my other comfort movies, which is Almost Famous by Cameron Crowe.
Mhm.
And it's only the only reason why I started watching it is because kind of like you, I was flipping through the chat. Whenever I flip through channels on my phone, I use YouTube TV. I think I've mentioned it before, and I always default to going to Turner Classic Movies just to see what's on. Like because I'll watch an old movie no matter what, and depends on what it is, if I like it or whatever. And I actually stopped. I was watching Jerry Maguire on TNT, and like you start getting like, oh, commercials are kind of like, bothersome. Let me watch a different Cameron Crowe movie, and I flicked on Almost Famous, and I haven't finished it, but just like I was starting to fall asleep, like in a kind of key time, and I was like, I'm gonna finish this tomorrow night.
Mhm.
That Thing You Do by Tom Hanks is another one that I enjoy. It's about the one hit wonder, this uh, band from Erie, Pennsylvania. They do this one hit, called That Thing You Do. And
Huh.
as they start doing like traveling world fairs, not world fairs, state fairs, and then the song actually starts climbing up the charts, and they became famous, and then they fall apart. Like it's a really good
Right.
movie.
Right.
It's one of my favorites.
All right, real quick, because we're going to be playing
Yeah,
this
I mean,
game
I could do
later
this all night. Yeah,
of verses, but and I don't know what this is a very unfair versus, but uh Forrest Gump versus Saving Private Ryan.
Even Private Ryan. I find that the length of Forrest Gump is just a little bit too. They're both around the same amount of time. It feels like anyway. But I feel like if you trimmed 30 minutes to 45 minutes of Forrest Gump, you have a tighter movie. But there's nothing about Saving Private Ryan that I would want to cut out. Even if there's like that Jeremy Davies character that I hate, like who like he's like um I forget what his character's name is, but he's kind of like the coward of the group. And like at one point I think he like hides himself underneath the body of somebody else.
Oh yeah, yeah. Is he the one? Who's the character? It's one of the most terrifying scenes when they're like in a home, in a house, and a German soldier is fighting. Maybe this character you're talking about. Is that the one where he has a knife? He's going, no, 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 wait, 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 like that, and he's getting slowly getting stabbed. The
No,
American.
that's I forget who that is. That might be Giovanni Ribisi's character.
No, no, it's not. It's another guy that's got a skinny head, and I forget
Okay.
the name of the actor. And he has a mustache. And I remember, and he's like,
That's a
and the other
that's a
guy's like
hard
saying
scene.
like, he's like, shh, shh, kind of
Mhm.
thing. It's just horrifying.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
whole movie is incredible.
Oh,
It's
from beginning to end.
incredible. Oh
Like
my,
that's
yeah,
a masterpiece of filmmaking.
yeah. Well, a couple of things. I went to SPX
Yes.
2025. I think it had been a decade. We were trying to figure it out, maybe 9 years since I'd last been there, and I thought that seems right, but also weird. Uh, and then I was saying, well, why haven't I been there in a while? And because I've done other shows, what I like to try to do, if I can make it happen, is to be a guest of a show, because in that way they'll hopefully pay for hotel, travel, give me a table,
And
and then it's
advertise you
affordable
and
and
advertise you.
advertise. And then I do panels and I advertise them and whatever. But it's because of affordability. Like I can't afford shows. So it's a good, maybe part of the reason I can't afford to go to a show like SPX. And luckily I was a guest this time.
Mhm.
And I brought my buddy Josh Neufeld, and we got to be on a panel together. He debuted a book called Beyond AD because his perennial AD, New Orleans After the Deluge, is 20 years old now. So
Yeah, you
he had
said
a
that last week.
20-year edition of of something, and then I was able convinced Gil Roth, Virtual Memories podcast,
Oh,
who's it's one of the best podcasts. He has great conversations, and he talked to Josh, and I think that'll be up in a week or so. Um, and it was just a great time. I felt like I was a little nervous because the last time I think I was there, I felt like I had aged out, which I have because it's a young person show,
sure.
even though they'll have like in the past, they'll feature like a Chris Ware, Dan Clowes, or this case, maybe me, because I've been around the block. And I felt like I got honored and I hate to use the word respect, but respected. And
Yeah.
like a bunch of people came to me were like, "Oh my God, I'm so glad to see you back here." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, me too," and I did really well, and it was a lot of fun. And I got to go up a night early because the morning Friday morning, uh, me and a group of other guests got to go to the Library of Congress
Hmm.
and see original comics art, comic strips, comics pages that they have, and this was just a small selection of it. And they pulled like I had asked for Roy Crane, Irwin Hasen. I'm trying to think who else they pulled. I wanted Frank Robbins, but they didn't have any Frank Robbins, but they had a lot of Milton Caniff that was pretty
Oh, wow.
amazing.
Like
And
original art.
Chris Ware and a Jim Rugg. They had a Jim Rugg page in there. I'm like, wait a second, I got to get some art in here. Like uh, Peter Arno, like
Wow.
what do you call it? Windsor McKay, I mean, it ran the gamut, man. This beautiful Charles Schultz strip from the 1950s, I think 55. And I'm going to put some pictures up. It was incredible. And then that ended around noon. So Josh and I uh, did something I've never done. I walked the mall.
Yeah, that's
I
fun.
was at the Capitol. We
Same.
walked to yeah, but it was empty. Like
Sure.
I felt like it was I don't know what was going on, but it was empty. We
Mhm.
walked this giant mall, and we'd stop for drink breaks and whatnot. And it's long, man.
Yeah.
It takes half a day. And I saw the Washington Monument. I saw Lincoln, which was very profound to me. I don't know why, to
The Lincoln
actually be in front
Memorial.
of it, the Lincoln Memorial. And then we actually walked behind the White House at one point. But it's weird. Like for so long, I've heard about when people come to New York, and they always talk about the first time I came to New York. And I've never had that experience because I'm a native New Yorker. I'm born and bred here. So I never had that first experience. I mean, I'll have a first experience of seeing the Empire State Building and all that, but you take it for granted as a New Yorker
Yeah.
if you live in New York, right? I knew for the first time what it felt like to go to New York by seeing Lincoln.
Huh.
And I don't know why I had this powerful emotional moment for me of seeing the Washington, monument, to see Lincoln. Oh, we went by the Vietnam Memorial, which
Oh,
was
I've never
just,
been. Like
and there
I've
were
been
like
to
these,
DC, but I've never been there.
it's crazy. Like, and there were like these older guys that were going up there to see maybe their son's name or maybe they had survived and whatever, it was
I see
insane,
what
to see this stuff and to confront it. And Washington D.C., or at least that area, is so big and vast,
Mm.
and like I don't know, it was very powerful. And again, it made me appreciate when people come to New York for the first time. They're like, oh, this is what it was like for me. I was like, cool, but I've never had that experience until now because of Washington D.C. And I've gone to other places, but there was something about this.
I went to a wrestling show in, I think, Maryland many years ago. 90, I want to say 95, 97, somewhere in that area. And
Mm,
we got down there early. So me and my friend Chris, we went to the Smithsonian Museum of Art, and we went to the Aeronautics and Space Museum. Like just, but I had been there before that, and it was very funny. I was like, wow, this isn't where I thought it was. And then I used to, when I worked for a law firm in New York City, I used to have to fly down for the day and go to DC. So I would get to see a lot of that stuff, just like, all right, I did my delivery. And I got, you know, 30 minutes before I have to take a cab back to the airport. I'm just going to go and walk around for a little. And so I would just walk around and stuff.
it's incredible. You can just spend days there, and the museums are free,
Yeah.
or we pay for them or whatever. But and it's just giant, beautiful spaces that you how could you not go in
Mm.
there? It's incredible. So I don't know. That to me was really profound. And maybe also because of what's going on in the world a little bit more today, especially in America,
Right.
you're kind of looking at it with a side eye, like what is this place supposed to be and supposed to represent? And there's so much history,
Yeah.
in these spaces. So it's kind of crazy. I have like three more topics I wanted to
Yeah.
talk about. Um, are you a fan of serial killers?
How do you mean? Like, do I enjoy
No,
watching?
I don't mean that you advocate, but like, is it a
Like,
topic
like,
or a kind of a thing you'll watch, a serial killer movie
yeah,
or
I've watched true crime shows and serial killer documentaries and stuff. Like Michelle is the one. Like
uh-huh.
she studies them almost, like
All right.
she's got so many, like, and it started with she seems to have I would say she started with, but I couldn't tell you unless she was in the room. But it seems like her obsession starts with Jack the Ripper,
Mm.
and like and then like she's like into the H. Holmes story, from Chicago during the World Fair, and like she's very up on all of them. Um, I, I'm fascinated to a point. Um, the thing, come in. Oh, it's my daughter. I thought it was my wife.
Hey Dad,
Yes, I'm recording. See.
you know how last night I told you that a picture we got on Google has become a thing?
Yeah. So Dean, I want.
Yes.
I have to explain something. This is very funny that she came in and she's telling me about this. So Sadie, my daughter, and her friends, they like to send, messages to each other over Snapchat. And one of the pictures they used was the picture you took of me at Baltimore with my head going through the curtain.
Yeah.
So yesterday she shows me another picture, and it was of me at Baltimore at the Ringos.
Hold
It was
on.
like it was like a selfie. And what is the one today now?
I have to.
So apparently they're just Googling my name
Yeah.
And getting pictures.
and just pulling up pictures. Like, like this is
Oh
all
yeah,
like,
there's a Seth picture. That's cool,
yeah.
man.
I
So
have to find the
I don't know
picture.
why they're using me as their emoticon or whatever, but
I have to find it. Wait.
okay. Well, we got to show we're recording.
I'm
That's hilarious. That's
So
hilarious.
anyway,
no, no, wait. I have.
okay. Do
I
you
have
have it?
it.
I can't tell if that's a good thing or a bad thing. If
I don't
they're
either. Like I mean, my celebrity is, you
are
know.
you like a butt joke or
You know
something?
what's funny? The
Look,
kids
you
on
got you nonchalant Vito, and it's a little.
oh the picture of me at the Ringos is nonchalant Vito is what it's called.
Ah, okay. Okay,
Um,
nonchalant.
uh,
Okay, very good.
one of
Very
the
good.
kids on her school bus, whenever I pick her up, calls me Mr. Pringle.
Okay. Okay.
Being a parent
Hey,
age.
wait, who's the guy? Oh, Mr. Clean. There's Mr.
Yeah,
Clean.
yeah, but I mean because of the
Okay,
mustache.
right. Well, the reason I brought up serial killing is because I've always been fascinated with serial killers since like Psycho and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and realizing, oh, those stories were inspired by a real person.
Yeah, yeah.
That can't be,
Oh
like
yeah,
that's
this is the trailer you sent me.
so. Yeah, I sent you a trailer because one of my favorite I wouldn't even call him a serial killer. He was misguided. Like the guy was tortured by I think his mother. Anyway, the point is it's Ed Gein and the actor Charlie Hunnam,
From Sons of
uh,
Anarchy, I believe.
Sons of Anarchy and other movies and whatnot. And if you watch the trailer, he looks a lot like
Yeah, yeah.
Ed Gein, the real guy. Um, and Ed Gein's a fascinating story to me because he wore his mother's skin, like clothing. He dug up graves and made armchairs out of arms, real arms, and belts made out of nipples, and there were faces hanging on the wall. I mean, it's all crazy. It's
Yeah.
gross and ugly, but I I don't think he had an ill intention with it. They unfortunately what happened toward the end and this TV show, this series on Netflix called Monster. They did Jeffrey Dahmer, and then they did the Menendez brothers was their second series, and now Egin, and I think the next one's going to be, oh God, what's her name? With the hatchet and she 40 wax or
Molly
whatever.
Hatchet. No, not Molly Hatchet.
Oh God.
Where's Michelle when I need her?
I know exactly. Well, anyway,
She's the one.
but so they're continuing this series, but I was so excited to see that they're going to be doing Ed Gein because um he wound up getting busted because I think he accidentally murdered a woman. And then there was a blood trail that went right to his house. It's not like
How
he
do
was
you
hiding anything.
how do you accidentally kill?
I don't know, and I'm curious to know because they'll know. Hopefully, the series will have more intel on. But I always had the impression that like maybe he was really shy and something happened at a store, and like he may have hit her in the head and she hit her head. I don't know. I don't know the details except when the cops came by his house and she was already strung up like a deer, cut down the middle. I think she was missing her head. Like he was already dressing her up like you do with animals, doing the
Yeah,
thing.
canning.
And like that's how he saw people. Like I don't think again, it wasn't like I'm gonna come get you like a bad guy. Like I just think he was super confused and apparently he was really sweet in the insane asylum, like
Hmm.
a nice guy. Like I think that's how they might play. And of course, there's this whole thing with his mother. So I don't know. I'm really excited to see this. And there's an abandoned Billy Dogma story. I think I drew 26 pages of Billy Dogma goes to hell and meets Ed Gein and brokers a peace treaty. And
Huh.
I've drawn like it's in my Dean Haspiel the early years. It's insane.
Wow.
So I was such a fan that I actually drew him in a Billy Dogma comic.
By the way, Lizzie
Um,
Borden is who we were talking about.
Lizzie Borden is going to be the fourth one, right? The 40 wax. And again, I think she just killed her parents. So
Yeah.
I guess I didn't see all of the Menendez brothers one, but I was like, I guess you can like I always feel like Dahmer, he had a bunch of murders under his belt,
Hmm.
John Wayne Gacy, I think is another TV show that's coming out that's being fictionalized, not through this monster series. But I guess people like that are always going to be fascinating,
I think
because
the fascination is a lot of like I mean maybe a lot of people wouldn't admit this, but I think a lot of people would like to get away with murder. And
Sure.
even though a lot of the serial killers don't get away with murder, I think that there's a for the most part, if you become a serial killer, you've gotten away with at least three murders. You know what I mean? And then the
You
fourth
remember
one,
that scene in what's the Tarantino movie that uh oh God, see, now I'm getting old, man. True Romance.
yes,
And there's a scene where I think it was his first major scene, the guy who went on to become the lead of The Sopranos.
Michael Imperioli,
No, the
Gandolfini. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Gandolfini has a scene where he's like a hitman and
mhm.
he's beating up
Rosanna Arquette.
Roseanne or Patricia? Roseanne.
Patricia. You're right. You're
Patricia.
right.
Patricia. Okay. But he talks about I guess he starts talking about like the guy who Kent State started killing people. He
Yes.
says the first one is the hardest one because you've never done it before.
Mhm.
And that's the one, but the one once you do it once, you can ease into doing more and how that becomes this interesting little monologue he gives. And it shows that he's kind of like, a sociopath and a monster, like,
Sure.
but it's interesting how he's kind of like philosophizing and I think, and you and I write and draw characters that kill people.
Yeah, and I think the philosophizing goes towards maybe giving these characters a humanization moment, like humanizing
Hmm.
them for a moment, if only to make their brutality more brutal.
Yes, yes. Because you feel like there's this human connection for a minute and
I
then
mean,
it
Ted
goes
Bundy
away.
was apparently very charming. You know,
Who?
Ted Bundy.
Right. Well, he apparently was a good-looking guy. I don't know, not my taste, but whatever. Good-looking guy who get a lot of girls, a lot of dates,
Hmm.
and was very charming and was able to woo them. And then there you go. He
Yeah.
killed them. So, before we get into our creators, comic creative verses,
Hmm.
there are two other topics. I'll do the verses 1 second that will lead into verses. So, man, dude. So we got Colbert.
Yeah.
Stephen Colbert, we got Jimmy Kimmel. Who's next? What's going on? Like, and to put it in context, um, Stephen Colbert was told by, is it ABC?
CBS.
CBS, that his contract will be up in a year. He'd be done like next May. And then Jimmy Kimmel made, as he's been doing, a joke about Trump. And in this case, I think they were talking a little bit about Charlie Kirk.
If you heard the joke, it's so like tame
Yeah,
comparatively speaking to a lot of the other stuff. But more
right,
importantly, um, it wasn't necessarily about him. It wasn't making fun of him. It was more
right,
about the shooter.
right. The shooter, and also something, and the real joke they were playing was when they played a clip when Trump was asked about his friend Charlie Kirk's passing. He barely acknowledges it and then talks about construction of something at the White House. So that was where they really where Kimmel leaned into the joke, right?
Uh,
Like this
There's
guy
one
clearly doesn't care, you
there's one
know?
more incident that probably needs to be brought up just for additional context. There was an episode of South Park that was pulled by the network. Comedy Central is the network. Comedy Central, I believe, is owned by Paramount. Um, Paramount might also own CBS, but I don't quote me on that. Anyway, the reason why it was pulled is because I think it had either I've read it in passing, so forgive me. It was either talking about assassinating somebody or something about Charlie Kirk. I can't remember exactly. It was one of the two,
Mm,
not both. It wasn't like making fun of the assassination or predicting an assassination or something like that. It was just they were talking about one of those two things, and CBS thought it was just in poor timing. So, or
right.
CBS, Paramount, excuse me. And so they pulled the episode. So that's another thing that's not entirely what we're talking about, but it is kind of what we're talking about.
Well, because at the end of the day, what we are talking about is Jimmy Kimmel's job is to be the court jester and to make fun of people in power. That's what court jesters do. That's what comedians can do. It's what anybody can do, you
Right.
know. But when you have a big giant corporation like ABC and Disney, I feel like they did a cowardly thing by suspending Jimmy Kimmel indefinitely, you know, because of what his job is.
Yeah.
It's his job to do that, you know, and then they, you know, and I think this is just veering more into Trump Nazi world that we, you know, we're living in right, you know, or starting to live in more evidently than ever before,
Yeah.
and it's scary and it angers me. And I'm just telling everybody right now to double down on your freedom of expression.
Let me ask you this, because you're talking about the profound feeling you had about going to DC and seeing Lincoln,
Mm-hmm.
and then this happens, like almost like SPX was post Charlie Kirk being murdered, but pre Jimmy Kimmel, and post Stephen Colbert, but pre
Right,
Jimmy Kimmel.
right.
How has that, like, has the events of this week kind of tainted that profound feeling that you had?
So the profound it didn't taint it because I own it from because I can compartmentalize and put it in context.
Sure.
I'm the same guy that I haven't watched the Bill Cosby show, but I would think or I imagine I could watch an episode and try to watch it for what it was when it was made
Right.
versus like it being tainted by what Bill Cosby you know, the horrible things he did.
Right.
Uh, it might still cross my mind as I'm watching it, so it could just ruin it. He might have just ruined everything he's ever made, you know, and that's how a lot of people feel. So I'm not letting, you know, Trump and his administration taint the whatever I think the ideals are of that space that I visited. But I did recognize one thing that I didn't mention here, which is I did realize that there was an idolization. There's an idolization of Lincoln.
Yeah.
There's an idolization of George Washington with the Washington Monument, and the idea of like making people bigger than they are, because in some ways, some people are bigger
Right.
because of what they do or whatever that means, you know. And I did hit the pause button in my head about, wait, is that the right thing to do? Do we really need a Lincoln monument and a you know, or you know, statues of people that were known for doing certain things for better or for worse? You know, and then you see, like, you know, who's next? Is it going to be people in position of power idolizing themselves in real time?
Right.
You know, like I don't think the Lincoln Monument was up there when Lincoln was alive.
No,
Okay,
no.
that happened later, right? So right now we're dealing with a president that would like to have statues and posters and flags of his face
Sure.
hanging right now.
The other thing too is to kind of add to the censorship talk, um months into his current term, Trump and his Secretary of Defense, now being called Secretary of War, which, if you know
Thanks.
history, Secretary Department of War was what the Defense Department was during World War II, prior to, I'd say prior to the Korean War. It got changed, but they decided to pull all recognition of Black generals and heroes of war from, like, the website, the Department of Defense website, which is ridiculous. These people died for our country, and neither of these two schmucks did. Do you know what I mean? Like,
What? Why? What is the point?
we know what the point is. Like, we know exactly
Yeah,
what it's
but
to.
it's so surreal because it's not. Listen, as much as I can't stand Trump, Trump didn't come up with these ideas.
No,
He's just
no.
enforcing them, right? Who the hell are these people?
Yeah, it's the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025, and I don't know what um, billion-dollar donors are behind it as well. I mean, you can throw Elon Musk into it.
But
Um,
they have to understand there's more of us than there are of them.
yes, until we, take it to the problem is, we're willing to fight clean. They're willing to fight dirty. They're willing to
Well,
step
we need to
back.
learn to fight dirty then. I hate to
Exactly.
say it. All
Exactly.
right, whatever. I'm not going to
And
get.
and for those not able to see, uh, Bad Brains. I've been listening to Bad Brains for years. They warned me about this a long time ago, man. So
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
listen to Bad Brains and Rage Against the Machine. You'll know what's going on.
But it's weird because when they were warning us, I felt like we were living in a better version of America, and somehow it got worse.
Yeah, the more you talk to people outside of your purview of the world, whether it be a different race or a different
Oh yeah, I'm a straight white guy that lives in New York. I'm in a
but I mean,
total bubble. I'm in a
but
bubble.
but you've grown up around, black people who were suppressed by society too. So
Yeah,
but you might not be aware of how a gay person in Alabama growing
right,
up, how they felt. You know what I mean? Like just
right,
so like, we don't have all the answers because as open-minded as we are, and we are, there's still a part of the American experience that we'll never know.
right,
You
right,
know, it's not for lack of trying, and it's not for lack of desire
right,
to learn these things. Like, but the more we try to learn these things, and the more we try to build bridges, there's always that one guy right behind us that's just like cutting the ropes, or
hmm,
taking apart the building blocks of it. So it's
yep,
it's just it's vigilance. It's
yeah,
learning how to play dirty. It's making sure you vote every single time. It's
yeah,
and I know that voting seems at this point kind of like, well, what's the point?
yeah.
Doesn't matter. They'll just change the results. Uh, you know, there's a case going up in Rockland County right now that I'm paying attention to. That is it Rockland or Suffolk? I think it's Rockland County in Long Island, where thousands of votes were just not counted. And so it's believed that these votes could have shifted New York, and also there might be some suppression conversation. It's one worth looking at if you're looking for any kind of ray of hope. This is one of them.
Right. And the best we can do is use our I'm not going to try and be political in everything I do, but we can make comics about where we discuss it in an adjacent way.
Let me tell you like a real, I wouldn't call it a fear, but a real concern of mine. I have this stray comic called The Beast Within that I have advertised or teased as a stray Antifa comic. And just this week, Mr. Trump said that Antifa is now a terrorist organization. First of all, Antifa is not an organization. Antifa is a way of thinking, anti-fascist. It has nothing to do
Yep.
with, there's no organization. Whenever you see a group of people that call themselves Antifa, it's just that they have the same philosophy. They don't have any kind of organization. It's not like MAGA, where you wear a red hat, and you know exactly what side you are on the fence. But my concern is, all right, if I put this book out after I've been touting it as this, will this put me on some kind of list? How do I feel about that? How would that affect my family? And I haven't really, come up with any answers. I'm still going to publish it because I think it's a worthwhile thing to say and to express. Maybe who knows? Maybe comics are so so the lowest end of entertainment that nobody's ever going to notice. I don't know.
Somebody was saying today, because I've been writing, I posted a couple of things recently on Facebook where I'm questioning all this stuff, and they're like, they care more about television and movies than
Right.
they do about print. It's almost like you don't exist because you
Unless you're the New York Times or the Washington Post. Yeah.
right, and maybe they'll go after the New Yorker and the New York Times next or Washington Post, but and that will be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
But I think that for me, whenever I'm thinking about these topics and I want to express myself, I try not to be super specific in my work because these days I'm trying to put out stuff that you maybe will still mean something after I'm dead, like, and so uh I think that like making it evergreen, there is always going to be fascism or
Yeah.
stories about that. So you can take the word Antifa out and
No, it's
you know,
not in the actual story, and it's not in the on the cover or anything like that.
okay,
But
yeah,
it's just that this is how I've put it together in my brain. Like when I put the story
sure.
together.
No,
And,
I think I no, absolutely create it and make it
oh no,
and
I'm not
of
not going.
course. Right.
I mean, like I think it's like I said, I think it's a worthwhile thing to put out into the world, and
Absolutely. I
uh,
mean,
small company, small crowds of comic book conventions and stuff versus the billions of people that watch TV.
right.
I'll take that risk,
Well, I will say this: we haven't had an underground comics in since the '60s, maybe leaking into the '70s, right?
Yeah, that's
So
true.
maybe this is the new era of underground comics, which only makes it cooler.
There's Mighty
Like
King.
exactly.
Mighty King on that one.
Let's get him on the horn. All right, so now I'm going to segue.
Yeah.
I have not received this yet, and but a couple guys, Jason Shidhead and Adam Sverta, were turning me on to a versus comic. It's Deadpool versus Batman,
Yes.
and we've been playing this versus game. Did you get it?
I have it somewhere over here. Let me see.
Okay, because there's a 4-page Frank Miller story in there.
There it is.
There it is.
Yeah, yeah, there's a Frank Miller I think Batman versus Wolverine
Oh,
story.
Wolverine. Okay.
Yeah, here's
Right, right, right. Yes.
it's it's definitely Frank Miller. You know what I mean? Like, um I find a lot of this book to be somewhat confusing in,
Uh-huh.
in that I'm trying to figure out the reasoning for some of the creative teams. Like some of they don't seem like the guys that did the Batman Deadpool story are Zeb Wells,
Hmm.
who's mostly a Marvel guy, and Greg Capullo, who's mostly done DC in the past couple of years, but he's worked at Marvel before.
So
And
Zeb Wells just did a long recent Spider-Man run,
yeah,
and I've worked with Zeb. He wrote the J. Jonah Jameson story that I drew for Spider-Man's Tangled Web, and he's a Emmy Award winning writer.
yeah,
And he writes funny. He's like one of the funny writers, right?
yeah,
So I imagine that they picked him because he could write funny Deadpool or whatever Deadpool does,
right.
that breaking that fourth wall in the Looney Tune way that he does. And then Capullo for his run on Batman with Scott Snyder,
Yeah,
you
which
know,
was like, it's funny. I remember being in Jim Hanley's universe before he took over with Scott Snyder on Batman, and
right.
seeing him working on Spawn comics and like the Creech, which I think was his creator-owned comic, and just being
Hmm.
like, why isn't? And I actually said it out loud. Why isn't this guy on Batman? He's like perfect.
Hmm. Hmm.
Cut to like
Hmm.
5 years later, you know what I mean? And
Yep.
like, oh,
Yep.
profit.
There it is. Yeah,
But
so
yeah,
I mean, I have not read the comic. I guess you have. I listen. Those things are stunts. They're just
oh yeah,
stunts.
absolutely. That's part of the reason why I um I haven't really dug into it,
Right.
fully, because it is a stunt and it's like why, I hear it's fun. That's the one thing that I am looking forward to reading it for.
Right.
Like I hear it's fun, but at the end of the day, it's a stunt, like you said. Can I show you
And that's the
something?
Marvel produced comic. I think there's going to be
Yes.
a DC one where it's Batman versus Deadpool,
Hmm.
and whoever's going to be that. But I did spoiler. Can I? It was spoiled to me again, not having read it.
Yeah.
But there's a Captain America Wonder Woman story,
Yeah. It takes place in World War II.
and it's Chip
Okay.
Zdarsky,
Hmm.
and I don't know who drew it.
Terry Dodson.
Okay, Terry Dodson. And here's the spoiler. Apparently, Wonder Woman stops Captain America from killing Hitler or killing Hitler as a baby, or what was it? Do you know the
I
story?
think it's Hitler because I didn't see a
Actually,
picture.
just Hitler. Stops him from killing Hitler. And I haven't read the story, so I don't know the nuance or whatever. And that sounds interesting to me, and I want to read that story,
Sure.
you know?
And it's a short story too. I think it's like 6 pages, maybe at the
Sure,
most. Can I show you
sure.
something else I picked up?
Yeah. What? The new Black Kiss, that's all the full collection, right?
Black Kiss Omnibus collects the legendary '88 series, its 2012 sequel, Black Kiss 2, plus the Black Kiss Triple Xmas special, and created just for this volume, the all new '28 Black Kiss Halloween.
Oh
Like,
boy.
I cannot wait to open this.
Oh
I
my
just can't do
Lord.
it around children.
Nuh-uh. Yeah, that was a that that with that. Oh, so I had worked for Howard Chaykin in 1985
Mm.
on American flag, and I believe it was the end of that year, if not the beginning of '86, where he moved to California, and I think he worked a little bit more on flag, and maybe that it was the he was getting to the TV series, and suddenly there was this bootleg comic in a black plastic bag coming out called Black Kiss,
Yeah.
you know, and that was like 3 years later. And that was one of the things that inspired us to want to do a bootleg was the
Yeah.
idea of hiding a comic in a black bag, you know?
I had never, even at working at Hanley's, I had never seen the volume one or any of the first issues. I'd only ever seen the Black Kiss 2. So
Right.
like I was like, I want to read it. I want to,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
play
yeah.
it and get into it and stuff. So I wanted to wait. And like I don't even know that I knew this was coming out. I saw it pop up on like you know, dearly beloved, we have gathered here today to say our piece about Diamond. Uh, but
Right.
but yeah, like I saw it in previews and I was like, yeah, let me take a stab.
Yeah. How
And I
much is
think
it?
it's like $35,
Oh, great. Great.
39.
All right. I'm gonna have to get that.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a nice
yeah.
hefty book.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome. All right. I guess we can veer into our own verses.
But
The game we've been,
before we do
yes.
that, just real quick, favorite Redford movie?
Well, let's kind of list some of them. There's Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. There's The Sting.
Sting, All the President's
There's
Men.
All the President's Men. There's 3 Days of the Condor.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
I and then there's I love The Way We Were with Barbara
There's
Streisand,
also Barefoot in the Park, I believe.
which I've never seen.
I haven't either. I just remember, like I think it's Natalie Wood he's with in that movie.
No, no, it's Jane Fonda.
Jane Fonda. Thank you. Oh, that's
Uh,
right. That's right.
so Whitney Matheson just in her latest Substack this morning. Uh, there's a clip from Barefoot in the Park that's great with
Yeah.
Jane and Redford. But and then I'm sure there's like what else did he did so many other movies. Oh my God.
Sneakers was in
Actually, I don't think I've ever seen the baseball movie.
The Natural.
I don't think I've ever seen The
That was
Natural.
in the 80s. Sneakers was in the 80s. I think he did. There was one, I want to say,
The Great Waldo Pepper, I think I mentioned.
no, there was,
Well, oh, I didn't say. I was trying to tell you the most recent movie I saw his, and I'd seen it when I was a kid, was The Great Waldo Pepper. Have you ever seen that?
I've never seen it. Is it any good?
Oh my God. William Goldman wrote it.
Oh, well
He's one of
then,
the best screenwriters ever.
yeah.
But it's dark.
Is it
It's
really?
dark. There's a couple of instances, and even William Goldman in his own book says that they messed up when they did a certain thing in the story that you can't recover from, and it taints the rest of the movie because of how horrific it is. Um,
I forgot a really good one, like that I really did like, Ordinary People.
oh, that's right.
He
Mary
also,
Tyler Moore.
yeah, like
Timothy Hutton, I think, is in that. Is that
yes,
his
Timothy
name?
Hunt, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, I thought he did one that was like, wasn't The Old Man and the Sea, but something like that.
Hmm.
River runs through it. Um,
Hmm.
Indecent Proposal. He was the guy who made the Indecent Proposal.
Oh, wow.
Forgot about that. Out of Africa. I remember that one as well. That was
I never saw that.
um the A Bridge Too Far. Uh,
Hmm.
The Great Gatsby. I forgot
Hmm.
about that. Like,
Hmm. That
man,
makes sense.
he was something else, man. I think my favorite is probably 3 Days at the Condor.
I think it's 3 Days of the Condor, and there's a very specific reason why. He he breaks into Faye Dunaway's apartment
Hmm.
while he's on the run, and in one scene, and this is also in the writing and the directing, and Faye Dunaway and everybody, all the acting, he somehow has to convince her that this is really happening, this conspiracy
Yeah,
crazy thing that happens at the beginning, and she kind of has to fall in love with him
yeah.
in one scene, and it works.
The, you
It
know,
works.
now that I'm thinking, my favorite might be actually Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid.
Well,
It's a
it's
tough.
and
It's
that's
a
another William Goldman. I think William Goldman wrote The Sting,
Yeah.
Butch Cassidy. Uh, he didn't write 3 Days of the Condor,
I don't
I don't
believe.
think. But I mean, yeah, man, it's hard. It's hard, you
Ugh.
know. But But 3 Days of Condor is so like, oh my God. But maybe it is Butch Cassidy. It has a great ending.
Yeah, yeah. The ending, I like the tension between him, Paul Newman, and Catherine Ross a lot. Uh,
Yeah,
just westerns in general. You don't like
yeah.
westerns as comedies, and it's not a straight comedy, but
No,
it's comical, in spots, and like it chooses its moments really well. I
yeah.
just, like that ending is everything. Like that shootout, and then the ending is just
It ends on a freeze frame, and you're
yeah,
like, you decide.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
decide. That's what's great about the ending.
Yeah,
All right.
that's probably mine. All right, let's go into it.
All right. So, um, we've been playing this game, and we get through about 10 of them, sometimes a little more, of different creators, and we try to match them up and choose if we had to pick one over the other, but we also talk about their work and what they might mean to us. So, um, I'm going to start off with Steve Dillon.
From Preacher, probably most well-known artist from Ireland.
Yep.
Um,
And he
funniest.
did the Punisher with Garth. We'll talk about him versus Brendan McCarthy.
Those are two totally separate styles.
I know,
Like they're not.
but
I
they're both like kind of 2000 AD guys.
yeah, yeah.
Basically, they both probably drew Judge Dredd. Brendan McCarthy, he worked with Peter Milligan, I think, a lot, and
I don't think he worked on Shade the Changing Man.
I he might have.
I
I don't know, but he had a very specific style, and he worked a lot on indie comics. And Brendan McCarthy did. Also, weirdly enough, he was the designer of a lot of the characters and storytelling of Mad Max Fury Road,
yeah.
and he'd been working on that for years. Uh, with the director whose name escapes me right now. Oh God.
Well, George. I actually almost said George Jones, but that's a country music singer.
Yeah, not George Jones.
God, why
It's
can't
with a W, maybe. Uh,
why are we doing this tonight? Why are we like not
I know we
on our
cannot think
game?
anymore. I'll tell you why it's happening to me is because I have
George
not
Miller.
had my
George
George
Miller.
Miller. I have not had my afternoon coffee because I have to get up at 6:30 a.m. on Sunday,
Hmm.
and same on Monday because I'm doing an 8 a.m. Call for a movie. My friend Owner Tukel's making making his next film, and I'll tell you more about it later. But I got to be there really early. So,
What are you on the
uh,
call sheet?
huh?
What's your number on the call sheet?
Oh, I haven't even gotten the call. I'll be getting the proper one tomorrow. But I'm basically playing an extra,
Oh,
you know.
okay. So you're low on that.
But I also want to go and watch them shoot like a low budget film so
Yeah,
that, I'll be learning from that.
yeah.
Anyway, Steve Dillon, well, very different styles. Brendan McCarthy is more indie friendly, I'd say, and
Psychedelic. Like his colors are like always pop out to me.
yeah, the colors are
Paint
great.
colors as
He's
well.
got a very it's very sexy, his art in a lot of
Hmm.
ways. Steve Dillon was more bare bones. He did Preacher. He co-created a series. Was it Axel Laser Razor and Axel Press Button? I think he co-created as the artist.
I don't remember that one.
You don't know Laser or Eraser? I think that was called an Axel Press Button. It's great.
That's a
Um,
great name.
and then because of his great run with uh, Garth Ennis on Preacher, they did a bunch of Punisher stories together. And I think he also worked with Jason Aaron on Punisher.
I
And
believe
the
so.
thing that's specific about what's great about Steve Young, who I met at SPX.
I've met him as well.
Yep.
I've not only met him, I had a couple of beers with him.
There you go. Now you know. Now you know you met him.
Yeah.
The way he approached violence in his comics wasn't always the usual like the before punch and the after punch and the tooth flying and all that stuff. He found other ways of showing like domestic violence in a way that was brilliant.
Hmm.
He could it was incredible how he would wow, that's really loud. I don't know if you can hear that.
Oh,
but there's like a rumbling here. It's kind of
hmm.
crazy. We just had a horrific fire at an art studio in Red Hook the last 2 days. Not in our studio, but a little bit of ways. It's just devastating for a lot of artists. Anyway, but he drew like he would just draw another angle. He could find another way to show, I hate to say it, to show violence, but it always astounded me that he was able to figure out,
I think what
another dynamic.
more to his credit than that, if you look at Preacher was more than just violent cowboy. I mean, it's a western basically with a preacher that has the word of God, a hit woman, and a vampire. It's more than just
Yeah.
that. There's an issue where they have these sex detectives, and the guy drew smut so well.
Yes.
And
Yes.
with the same level of, I don't want to say intensity, but the same level that he put into the violence that you're
Yeah.
talking about, he put into like just goofiness. And
Yes.
there's a guy, Odin Quincannon is his name, is a character in Preacher in the later volumes, and he's like, I can't remember if he's a Nazi that runs a sausage factory, and
Yeah.
he drew a sausage person for this
Yep.
guy to have relations with.
When
Like,
there's Arseface, Arseface is a kid who failed at committing suicide with a shotgun. And,
because of
you know,
cocaine.
a friend of mine who started off as my busboy at Nick and Eddie restaurant in Soho back in the late 80s, early 90s. Then went on to become a waiter with me, and then we would hang out at night. And he was an actor as well, and he would do plays and try to get gigs, but he was mostly waiting tables. And I was trying to draw comics. And we'd hang out late at night and make videos with another guy named Chris Orbach, whose father is Jerry Orbach.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Adam Tracy, who was also an actor, who also worked at Nick and Eddie, and a whole bunch of, really talented people. And we'd hang out and make these little movies and whatnot. And then, at one point, he eventually moved on and moved to LA, where he started writing plays and then got a gig becoming a writer. And then and then not a potential, an eventual producer and director of Breaking Bad.
Hmm.
His name is Sam Catlin. Look him up, Catlin, Sam Catlin. And then after Breaking Bad, about a year or something after, he gives me a call. He goes, "Tell me something. Tell me about Preacher."
Amazing.
I'm like, "Wait, what's going on? Are you being tapped to like?" And I actually had a weird reaction. I said, I think Scout is more up your alley."
Hmm.
The Jason Aaron R.M. Guerra story series that they did for Vertigo. But that wasn't up for grabs. In fact, but there was a pilot made of that didn't go to a series,
Hmm.
but not by Sam, but someone else. So I talked to him on the phone. I said, "Dude, you have to do this." And he became the showrunner
That's
of
cool.
Preacher, the TV show that ran 4 seasons, which was a lot of fun. I don't know if
Yeah.
you ever watched
It's a
it.
little, it's not the book. That's the first thing you have to say. It's its
Right.
own separate thing. I mean,
That's right.
it's got a lot of the bookmarks of the book, like
Yes.
a lot of the character
Right.
moments and stuff like that, but it's a totally different entity
Yeah.
altogether. It's its
Yeah.
own
It's
thing.
an adaptation because that's what you do. You don't make the things already been made. Plus, times have changed. It's been 20 years or whatever since
Yeah.
Preacher, I think. So, but if you had to pick between Steve Dillon and Brendan McCarthy, like the kid in me like loves the Brendan McCarthy stuff
Hmm.
and like this kind of like very, very British, very indie European style, that's sexy. That's the only way I can put it. But then Steve Dillon was such a consummate storyteller
Yeah.
and worked on so many stories I love that I got to pick Steve Dillon.
Same. I even I would even throw in, he did uh, Straczynski relaunched the Squadron Supreme as Supreme
Mm,
Power at one point, and Dylan drew the Nighthawk one. And
mm,
you want to talk violent, like absolutely over the top, like Marvel
mm.
Max was the brand of the label. So he went over the top, like it was as violent as anything he did with Punisher or Preacher. Like, and
Right.
it's a very um, under the radar piece of his work, that I think people.
Interesting. into have to check that out. And again, it's not because I love violence, but his violence felt so real,
I
you know.
also, the thing about Brendan McCarthy is I feel like, you know, as much as I admire him and I enjoyed some of his work, a lot of it is impenetrable, because
Mm,
of how abstract it can be. Not necessarily like in shapes and stuff, but just how like it's almost not off-putting, but it keeps you at a distance. Whereas I feel
mm.
like Dylan's artwork draws you in immediately. And
I
maybe
always wanted Dylan to draw an American Splendor story, a Harvey P.
oh
Kerr
wow,
story,
that would be fun.
you know, because I felt like he had that latitude, you
Mhm.
know. Or the next one is Craig Thompson
Okay,
versus Adrian Tomina.
so Craig Thompson, probably best known for Blankets. Goodbye Chunky Rice, I believe, was the other one he did.
Mm-hmm.
And was it Habibi? Was Habibi?
Habibi, and then he did recently with Uncivilized, something like ginseng something, or I think it's about the ginseng factory that he grew up with, or he's done autobio. He's an autobio guy, basically, and Adrian, who lives down the block in Park Slope near me, who I bump into once in a while. And I know both of them. I've hung out with Craig Thompson. I've shared a bed with Craig Thompson at a SPX, like as he was blowing up. And Adrian is become more of a New Yorker kind of artist, covers. He has come out with graphic novels. Um, you know, his I loved his Optic Nerve series that he did when he was younger.
Yeah.
One man anthology, which is inspiring me to want to do my own one man anthology. He's one of the people. And then, he went on to kind of take his short stories and make them into graphic, make longer
Mhm.
stories. And yeah, he's really, really good. I know he was inspired by Dan Clowes,
Hmm.
but he cut his own path, and between the two, they both have great works that recommend them. But I feel, well, what's your feeling between
My
the two?
feeling
Yeah,
is it's Adrian, and
yeah.
the reason why is because I don't know. It's a part of storytelling that I don't necessarily have the um, ability to do. It's definitely something that true auteurs and cartoonists are the only ones that can do, and they take the mundane, like almost Seinfeld-esque aspects of life, and you somehow like make it interesting over multiple pages,
Hmm.
multiple pages. Like it's a talent. It's like I don't
Hmm.
know how they do it. You know,
Hmm.
um, Adrian's one. Read Arkiku Johnson, like read
Jessica Abel.
Jessica Abel. They're just able to able to take what seems like such a and I feel like it's a Hernandez brothers thing, that they
Oh, absolutely.
maybe learned from, but like they take these like small aspects of everyday life that we can all kind of
Dude, Archie Comics, famous for 5-page stories.
yeah.
And they weren't always so hyperbolic, and they didn't do like they would pick a topic and like get through it in 5 pages,
I
And
think that,
I think I know what you're talking about. I know you have more to say, and then I,
I
I
know.
want to cite an example.
Mhm. Oh,
You got
I think with Adrian, like um, the thing about optic nerve that I think gets lost is that like once you're done reading, they're not recurring characters, so you actually do feel something for these characters by
mm,
the end of the story. And I don't know what to attribute that to, whether it be the artwork or whether it be the story itself, but it's just a well blended work. Whereas with Craig Thompson, I would love to see him do like a Lord of the Rings adaptation. It's
mm.
got those really beautiful brushstrokes and like,
Chiaroscuro, like really like
yeah,
that dry brush and like that beautiful undulating kind of like a cousin to Paul Pope in that way,
a
maybe,
sense, yeah, absolutely. But
Yeah,
I feel like the work that he's doing that's more auto bio or more slice of life doesn't complement his stories as much as Adrian's art. His stories complement each other, if that makes sense.
interesting. I the one story that will forever recommend Adrian Tomine for me is, I think it's like 5 pages long. It starts off with an old lady in a kitchen pulling items out of a fridge and making 2 sandwiches. And she fixes them and everything, wraps them up, puts everything back, and she goes and she gets on a jacket or whatever. I mean, I might be misremembering this, but it's this little kind of like routine, this ritual. And she goes in a paper bag and she goes outside her front door and she walks a few steps to the car that's parked in front of her house. She opens the car door in the back seat and she gets in. And when she gets in, she's young again. And I'm gonna get emotional. And there's a young man who's her husband, becomes to be her husband, and she's remembering a time back in the day when they would eat sandwiches in the car. And then she gets out and it's clear that he passed away. And this is something she does to revisit him.
That's my point. Like, I mean, who could come up with something like that? Like that's
Beautiful.
it's not that it's like it's not particularly, novel. Like any of us could do that. It's just the execution of it, and
Yeah.
I think that's the big difference is
Yeah.
that his execution, he sticks the landing every time.
Yeah, he's amazing. All right. We agree. This one is going to seem obvious, but then think about it. All right. John Romita,
Senior,
Senior
okay.
versus Gil Kane.
Hmm. It's weird because I use a lot. I'm not an artist by any stretch of the means. You've seen me draw Kirby characters. Um, I'm not an artist, but I use a lot of Gil Kane art as
Mhm.
shorthand in my scripts. Particularly the one that I always um, come back to is the Gil Kane punching someone into the foreground.
Yep.
It's such a Gil Kane picture,
Yep.
like an image that like you can almost picture it in your head with like numerous different characters doing the punching, numerous different characters getting punched. Like it's so signature of him. Whereas with John Romita just drew beautiful pictures. Like
Yeah.
not just, you think about Mary Jane under, Mary Jane Watson under his pen is the Mary Jane phase a tiger, you won the jackpot.
Yep.
Yeah, he did. Like
Yep. Yep.
you look at her, you go, yeah, of course he did. I probably there's probably dozens, if not hundreds of dozens of men whose first crush was that panel.
Oh yeah.
That panel of Mary Jane Watson in that comic, just everything. And Ramita was broke his teeth on romance comics. I would say,
Yep.
like, if
Yep.
I remember correctly. And it's not just that. He was just God. What a great guy he was too. Like
Yeah.
if I
Ramita's Raiders, where he would mentor young artists in the
yeah.
Marvel bullpen, while everyone's trying to like fill in blacks, erase pages, and white out stuff, or make certain changes. He was the guy, the go-to guy at
So
Marvel.
he was the model guy, the guy that created the model look of what the Marvel characters should look like, even
Right.
though it wasn't 100% all of the Marvel universe,
And I
handed.
would hazard that when you think of Spider-Man, as much as you like wish you were thinking Steve Ditko, you're probably thinking about John Romita,
I agree 100%.
you know?
I think he didn't create that character, but he really is so intrinsically tied to that character. You could
Absolutely.
say Gil Kane is possibly tied in a similar way to Green Lantern, but I don't think that that's his definitive comic book work.
Yeah, I don't know what his definition. I mean, he did a great few miniseries, The Sword of Adam,
Mhm. Mhm.
His art style is unbelievable, and he really got it down to shorthand that like I'm jealous of.
And the thing about Gil Kane too is that like he was, if I remember correctly, I remember like there was a Comics Journal interview with him, like it was an audio interview with Gary and him, and he seemed to be very like a big proponent of creators' rights. At the time, I might be misremembering, but like I just remember him being very not anti-corporate, but just kind of wary of corporate,
Well,
like
he's famous for, and I don't mean to disparage, and this is just something I've been told by many sources, but he stole a lot of original art. He's one
yes,
of the guys that
yes,
stole a
I
lot of
heard
art. So
that.
when you say creators' rights, it's kind of interesting. And I know he also did, was it Black Mark or something? He did
Yes,
like some series, early on where he was one of the early,
maybe he just said he was a proponent of creators' rights, and he just wasn't, you know what I mean, like a practicer of it. Maybe,
who knows?
yeah,
And wasn't it like he was trying to steal to give it back to the creators? He might have been selling it on the
yes.
black market or something, or who knows what. Anyway, not to disparage, because we're talking about the creator's art. This is a tough one, maybe, but I think the answer is John Romita.
I don't think it's that tough. I think as much as I love Gil Kane's art, like his ink lines are a little thick, whereas John Romita's like lines are just kind of like svelte and just like
Yeah.
they move on their own. You know
Well,
what
it's
I mean?
funny because I did Romita ink himself.
No, not
So we
always.
had Gil Kane at one point was definitely inking
Yes,
himself,
he was.
and there was something really fascinating about his line for me
Uh,
as an artist. But I'm going to go with John Romita as much as Gil Kane was incredible. All right, and the same with you. The next one, again, not so fair, and then it's going to get interesting again. Marshall Rogers, and this
oof,
has nothing to do with, but there's a reason. Marshall Rogers versus Frank Robbins.
interesting.
Now they both had a short but memorable run on Batman.
Batman, yeah.
Now Marshall Rogers famously with was it Englehart
Yes.
and Terry
The Dark
Austin,
Detective era is what they call it.
and I think they might have done 10 issues or something.
Yeah, it wasn't much. It was but it's so weird that it's so definitive. It was like could it have I don't think it was 1980, but it could have been right on the cusp of 80, 79, 80.
I think it's a 70s comic, I think.
Okay. I was thinking I can't quite place the time, but because again, you're thinking when you think of the 70s, Neil Adams is still working on Batman here and there. Um, but yeah, no, I think it's mostly Marshall Rogers at that point that I remember.
And I
Um,
think Frank Robbins, I'm imagining, did a run before Marshall Rogers,
right.
and at some point was writing the Batmans he was drawing, and then he was writing the other people for a little while. And Frank Robbins is better known for a comic strip called Johnny Hazard,
Yes.
and I I think Frank Robbins might be my favorite Batman artist.
Really? I
Yeah,
would say that Jim Aparo, as much as I didn't appreciate him at the time, he
sure,
keeps it simple
sure.
comparatively to Neil Adams or something like that. But I think, between these two, I would say Marshall Rogers is my favorite of the two Batman
Oh,
artists.
totally. I can understand. But for me, it's going to be Frank just because there's something he did with ink that I've
Mm,
never seen before or after. He's the only one who's done it. Marshall Rogers had a great inker in Terry Austin,
awesome, yeah.
and he did some great dynamics and lots of fun comics. And they did a really definitive Joker with the Joker
Yes.
fish.
Yeah.
And then there was Deadshot, and I think they're fighting on a giant typewriter or something, like
Silver St. Clair was introduced, I think.
right, Silver St. Clair. And then
Rupert
they did
Murdoch might have been too, like not Rupert Murdoch, Rupert Thorne. Rupert Murdoch, that's the Fox
Rupert Murdoch. And
Rupert
then
Thorne.
later on, before he passed away, too young, Marshall Rogers, they did another miniseries. I think the same team.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just something for me about, and I was trying to think, well, who would Frank Robbins go against? Frank Robbins really should go against Milton Caniff,
Yeah,
but
totally.
Milton Caniff would wipe him off, off the floor within
That's
seconds.
that's arguable, but you're probably right.
No, Milton
Only
Caniff
because
just wins every
Frank
time.
Robbins probably aped a lot of the stuff that Milton Caniff already did.
But then he went into a weird place, which is what I was acknowledging in his work. Because when you see those Batman, I can send you some panels, and you'd be like,
Yeah, yeah.
"Okay, I see what you mean. I see what you mean." It's oh, and he also did a really good. I mean, Neil Adams really loved Frank Robbins, and he kept saying at DC that he was being colored poorly, and then Neil Adams, without getting credit, colored like a Man Bat story or something that Frank Robbins drew, and it was unbelievable.
Hmm.
Almost toward like I could see Michael Golden looking at this Batman stuff and kind of getting inspired by it. So
Frank Robbins also
Um,
did some work at Marvel. I didn't realize.
he did The Invaders
Invaders.
and Captain America.
Yeah,
I
like
mean,
and
they're
I
not that
like the
great,
Invaders, but like they're
but
not that. Yeah, it's
but they're
so
distinctive.
they look of the time that they're supposed to be. They're
Yeah,
based. You know what I
and
mean?
they're distinctive, right? All right, so this next one
I
is
say Marshall
interesting.
Rogers, by the way. Just
Of course, you're Marshall Rogers, I'm Frank Rogers, and I totally get why. Okay, Alex Ross versus Dave McKean.
yeah, they're so
I
different.
know
Like
they're so different.
there's
So
no
one is like the Rockefeller, not Rockefeller, the Norman Rockwell of
Rockwell.
comics, and the other one is like basically take all of Vertigo. Or what he did he do like every Sandman cover or something? Or what did he do?
He
Not
did.
every Sandman.
He might have but he did Batman Arkham Asylum. Um,
Right. He a great cover artist and also did Cages, I think was his
yeah,
own book,
yeah.
and which
He did
is
something with John
incredible.
Cale too. John Cale, the musician. Um, I can't remember what it was though. Um, but Dave McKean, like you know, with the exception of with the exception of Arkham Asylum, I've I've always had a little bit of an aversion to his work because there's a beautiful ugliness to it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like it's like
It's like
horrifying.
it's the pure term of grotesque, like grotesque.
Yes, yes,
It's like romantic, but it's ugly, or
yeah.
it's
Whereas
beautiful, but
Alex Ross, I don't even think it's a fair thing, and it's not because Alex Ross is so much better. You can make the argument that Alex Ross is kind of stuck in a thing, like
well, he's very commercial. He's very iconic. It's
right,
very Americana, right? And purposefully, whereas Dave McKean is bucking that, which is why I thought it'd be an interesting discussion between the two because they're so diverse and opposite ends of the
yeah.
spectrum,
Do
you
you
know?
think does Dave McKean use a lot of mixed media, like where
Absolutely.
as
Absolutely.
opposed to say Alex
Like
Ross is almost purely paint and ink?
right, right.
Um, I
And their
mean,
skill sets are so different, but at the peak of what they
yeah,
do.
yeah. I was gonna say like technique wise, you would have to give it to McKean just because he experiments.
Right.
Um, Alex Ross, yeah, he might play it safe, but there's also, just the novelty of it. Like if you remember when Kingdom Come came out, there'd been or Marvel's. I'm sorry, Marvel's is first. There'd been
Right.
nothing like that
Oh, there's
ever.
nothing like it.
And there was something to the point where we like. I remember thinking like I never thought of it, but it was like it's like almost an impossibility to make a comic like this. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like because it's
Hmm.
so work intensive. It's not, like I said, it has nothing to do with technique, but more um, ability. Um, I prefer Alex Ross, and I probably have read more Alex Ross comics
Hmm.
uh, than Dave McKean. But my God, I think Dave McKean is just like something else. Like he's like an alien.
Yeah.
He's like, you know what? He's like a David Bowie in like
Mm.
in a weird way, like where he's just this kind of like
Well, then that would make Alex Ross like Billy Joel.
yeah, absolutely. Something
You know?
reliable, something that you can kind of like sit back and just be like, this is like maybe not we didn't start the fire, but
Right.
Uptown Girl or The Stranger or anything like that. Like that
Right.
might there might be a little bit of a danger to Alex Ross here and there, but I think the truth of it is like McKean is like from another planet,
Yeah.
and I can't say that I would love to see more Dave McKean work. As much as there's Alex Ross stuff out there,
Yeah.
I'd see as much stuff of Dave McKean, and then it'd be kind of like an easier way to kind of judge the two together. Um, but I think I could live without Alex Ross work at this point. So I probably and Alex Ross did a cover of my own, like did a cover for my Superman comic.
I know.
Like that's and I'm not disparaging his work at all, but I would love to see more Dave McKean stuff. So I would say, I'd probably see Dave McKean.
I think in terms of the risk taking and experimentation, Dave McKean wins. But then the pure nostalgia. We started this podcast with talking about like comfort movies to watch
Yeah,
or whatever. And there's a comfort and again a sense of Americana that does not exist today.
I would
You know,
I would encourage everyone listening to seek out the Alex Ross Justice miniseries compilation. It's so fun. It's the Super Friends, but in the DC Comics universe. Like it's the same rosters of the Super Friends, but it's in the and it's done so well. And I think he wrote it himself. And then
mm,
Uncle Sam with Steve Darnell,
yep.
another
And he
great.
did an FF comic recently.
Mhm,
I have to say between the two, I think I enjoy the stories that Alex Ross drew
mhm.
more let's say than Dave McKean. So I'm on the fence, man. I respect both of them. To me, I can't choose between the two because of what they bring to the table. It's hard. So I'm going to be on the fence on this one.
Like I said, I could live without seeing another Alex Ross painting, but I wouldn't want to get rid of the stuff that I've already read.
oh, of course.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I know what you mean.
And with Dave McKean, I wish I saw more of it.
Right,
So, like I wish it was mainstream comics as opposed to has to be Vertigo. It has to be this weird thing, that we put it
right,
onto another thing. I'd like to see more of him doing
right.
traditional comic books, instead of like this weird thing that comes
Yeah,
out.
like he's done the weird, and that's fine. I'd like to
Yeah,
see him do more like Cages, where he's just doing a, line, pen and ink
yeah,
kind of stories. And I think, and he's a great painter too, and he's one of my girlfriend Jen's favorite artists, like just
yeah,
across the board. So,
yeah.
all right, this next one is kind of funny, and I could have done it after, and you'll see what I mean. John Romita Jr. versus Paul Smith.
I was hoping you'd say Gil Kane.
Uh, so John Romita Jr. is obviously John Romita Sr.'s son, who then also took over many comics, including Iron Man, Spider-Man,
X-Men,
X-Men, uh, and
Daredevil, famously.
Daredevil. He's
Innocent.
drawing Spider-Man today, and a
Yeah.
great Daredevil run with Anacenti, like unbelievable. And
I don't know that he's ever done Captain America. He did.
he
Did
did
he?
with Rick Remender.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
And it
And
was
he also
kind
did
of like
Thor.
off the heels of like Kirby's Mad Bomb type of stories,
Yeah, he
like
also did
he went to
Thor.
the future or something. He did Thor. He's
He might
drawn
have.
Fantastic Four,
I'm pretty
but not
sure.
proper, you know.
I think he's touched every corner of the Marvel universe. Now, and there's a couple of years there he was doing Superman, um,
Yep,
with Mark Miller. And Mark Miller, he also did Kick Ass.
yep.
He also did what was the name of that story that he did?
Is it indie or um
I think I feel like he did another, not a Mark Miller Image comic. I thought he might have done a different Image comic. It'll come to
he's
me.
done a ton of stuff. Oh yeah, he did with I know what you're talking about. I forget Gray. Is it called Gray?
Yes, yes. With
Gray.
oh, what is his name? He
With a
did
screenwriter.
Jersey Gods.
Right.
Uh,
That
I
Joe
mm,
Infinari drew some of a little bit, I
yeah.
think.
What is his name?
I
You
forget
know,
his name, but do you remember the story I tell about the guy that wanted me to draw something for him and it wasn't paying enough? And I said, dude, I got to eat and be able to pay my rent. And he offered to let me stay in his mother's basement, like in North Carolina, to draw the
yes,
comic. And I
yeah.
was like, hell no, that was that guy. That's who that is. Just so you know. Um, but
Glenn
I
Brunswick.
who?
Glenn is it Glenn Brunswick? No, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't remember. But I remember when Paul Smith came on the scene and he drew X-Men and then like Doctor Strange and
Mhm.
he did a bunch. He ran the gamut a little bit. Unbelievable artist. He came from animation. I felt like I was cheating on John Romita Jr. with how much I love Paul Smith. And I remember sending a letter to Marvel saying how much I love Paul Smith, and I got a letter back with a Paul Smith drawing of Iron Man, like a little on an index card. I don't know where it is, but it was in red pen and it was awesome.
I
And
I came into X-Men when Paul Smith, John Byrne left, Dave Cockrum came on,
yep,
Paul Smith came on, and
right,
it was like the Brood saga. And he didn't do very many issues of X-Men when I think about it, but like
right.
that was my like he did Wolverine in Japan, like he did a bunch of those like key issues of like me my development uh, uh, growing up, and then he disappeared. Then I got John Romita Jr. and it was like it's so weird because the John Romita Jr. of then is not the same as John Romita now.
Hmm.
Like he's got. I think we mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, where his economy of line is just like he's got that kind of shorthand.
Oh, Jeremy Jr.
Yeah,
He's gotten older, and he's still a great storyteller.
and
He
he's
still works with great inkers.
fast.
You know,
Oh man, I've
he's
seen him on
fast.
stage.
Like
Like,
I'll see him. He'll be like on vacation or going to a con, and he has that little piece of wood board that's the same
mhm.
size as the comic book page that he leans against a table and on his lap and just draws the next page, and it's
I think
unbelievable.
I think that when we are in our 70s and John Romita Jr. is in his 90s or so, I think he'll finally start getting his flowers. You know what I
I
mean?
hope so.
Because you know, because his dad has been gone for a couple of years now, and I think he had to kind of he totally surpassed that shadow that he was under.
Sure,
When he
sure.
started, and he's done so much, and he's Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah,
He is a Mount Rushmore guy, even though he might not, be my particular or your particular one. He's a
right.
Mount Rushmore guy, like in comics. Like, and
Absolutely.
I think time will give him the proper due. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's deserving of it. Now, like absolutely. But like, I
Yeah.
wish we had a way of, you know, appreciating him now while
Right.
he's still around. But between the two, I love Smitty. I love Smitty. Paul Smith just he is like in my head, those are the like like his Doctor Strange was just as good as a Steve Ditko Doctor Strange.
Yep.
His Leave It to Chance, totally different style,
Yep.
and yet it totally is like just perfect for what it is.
Yep. Yep.
The thing about Paul Smith is that he did a miniseries with James Robinson, co-creator of Leave It to Chance, called The Golden Age, and it's about the JSA post World War II. I can't tell you how influential on 20 something year old Vito Delsante that story is. Like
Mm.
I had this Golden Age pastiche character called Mr. Mercury, and
Hmm.
you drawn a cover, and like it was way before Stray, just something that I did with Speakeasy Comics that was supposed to come out. It never came out. There was a zero issue. Try eBay. I don't have any. But that comic doesn't exist without the Golden Age. I found that comic and like at the exact right time. So my choice is John Romita Jr. I just want to make sure everyone knows how important Paul Smith is to
Oh
me,
yeah,
but it's John Romita Jr.
it is John Romita Jr. for many reasons,
Yeah,
and Paul Smith, unbelievable as we have stated. Did me a kindness as a kid by
yeah.
drawing me a little Iron Man, but yes, John Romita Jr. because he's still cranking out comics, and like that guy is one of the only artists that knows how to draw gravity on a page. He knows
Oh,
how to draw weight,
yeah.
and it's just incredible. So John Romita Jr. The next one up is this is a little weird, but I have my reasons. Jim Steranko versus Bernard Krigstein.
No, I think like when we started doing this. I think you kind of like I think we mentioned Steranko in one of the other verses episodes that we've done, and yeah, Christine definitely came up in that conversation. It made completely sense. They're just like mavericks when it comes to a page, like the page itself, breaking whatever rule you had for doing a page. The only other person I can think of that would be close, but he didn't break the page. He used the page to his advantage, would be Dave Gibbons. And a Dave Gibbons, Bernie Krigstein versus is an interesting one as well. But again, like these two are just mavericks when it comes to how a page can be constructed.
Right. And to give context, so Jim Steranko kind of employed the pop art style of the 60s. And he kind of was like one of the pinch hitters for Kirby, or Ditko. I mean, he did Nick Fury. I think he did Captain America a little bit.
Yeah.
I think he's only drawn 11 comics in his life, to be honest. Not too
Doesn't that
many.
blow your mind?
I know.
And then I think he did he might have done.
He's done covers, and he did a James Bond graphic novel, maybe,
Yeah,
or
but I
something
think he
called
also did
Red
like
something.
Raiders of the Lost Ark adjacent
Oh
art.
yeah, he was the artist for Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Was it
He designed
storyboarding?
Indiana Jones. Yeah, he designed Indiana Jones and all that. Whereas Bernard Krigstein was an EC Comics artist who drew like horror kind of stuff, and famously drew it's probably a 7-page story where there's a Nazi being called out, for
He
being a
called the
Nazi in
Master
the
Race or
city,
something like that.
called Master Race. And there's this sequence where the guy falls into the subway as the train's coming by, and
For
it's
real.
just, you've never seen a comic drawn like that
No,
before.
no.
And the same thing with Jim Steranko, who was kind of doing it like his trying to do his Kirby, but then veering into his own graphic language, and again employing pop art and storytelling devices that had never been seen before.
I think Steranko
You
might have
know,
done a couple of X-Men, like latter X-Men, into before Giant Size, like before it got canceled and then brought back. I
and
think.
he's done covers. Like I
Yeah,
think
at
he did
least.
The Fly for Archie, uh, and he's a raconteur. If you ever meet the guy, he's
That's the thing about Steranko. I think that
mm,
that's the 11 comics means nothing,
right.
as influential and as groundbreaking as they are. It's the stories that the guy tells
Hmm.
outside of comics, the
Hmm.
escape artist stuff. He said something about Batman. Was it with you, or it might have been with Nick before San Diego Comic Con? He's looking up at a building and goes, "That's the building I used for Batman." And I think one of us turned to the other and said, "I don't remember him drawing Batman." Like it was so weird. And then like there's a story of him punching Bob Kane in the face on an elevator at San Diego, which I don't think ever happened, but it's a great story.
Oh, he tells lots of stories like that. And in fact, Krista Casano, artist, friend, studio mate, former
Mhm.
of ours,
Mhm.
uh, I think it was, I don't know how many, Baltimore Comic Cons, maybe 5 or 6 ago. And he was there, and he shows up to that, but she was there. And after, like, was it maybe after the award show or something, or after the
The Ringo?
Ringos, or he then had people, and he did his lecture in a private room that she went to, and 4 hours later she emerged from there and was just blown away by this guy's confidence and tenacity, and talking about comics and breaking down comics, and probably told him stories about him punching people in the face, like, and he's incredible because he's like 4 feet tall. I think his amazing pompadour, wig that he wears is probably the same size as him. And
Always with a turtleneck.
always a turn on. Jack Kirby based Miracle Man on him a little
Miss
bit.
Miracle.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Miracle.
Mhm.
And because at one point Steranko was an escape artist,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
I think Steranko's from this area, not specifically where I'm from, but
Oh yeah, he's in
Pittsburgh
he's in
area.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
Yeah,
kind of like Ditko as well. And
right.
I think he got into like circus sideshow stuff in this area as well, or something. While he
Right.
was. Um, it's the weirdest thing about Steranko is um, you can't. It's so hard to divvy what's real and what's bullshit.
Yeah.
The only thing you can focus on are those 11 comics.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah.
I think this is such a weird thing to say. And I think it's only because my exposure to Christine is only through those comics. But I think comics would not be the comic industry would not be what it is without a Stan Lee, without a Jack Kirby, and to a lesser degree, but I think still important without a Jim Steranko. I think comics are Jim Steranko cannot be created in any other medium than
Mm,
comics. Like I don't think
mhm.
Jim Steranko as an actor works. I don't think Jim Steranko as a lounge singer or a member of a band, like a
Even though that's what he's doing to us in comics
right,
terms,
right.
right?
And I think
Right.
that you can't find like he's such a character, man. Like you can't find Jim Steranko in any other medium than comics,
Hmm.
because very likely because comics are the only medium that would have it.
There you go.
You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
But
That's right.
you also create your own monsters, and
Yeah.
so I mean, with these two,
He perfectly encapsulates the term suspend disbelief.
absolutely,
You know, he is a walking movie,
yeah,
in a way.
yeah. I hate the thing that I you know hate seeing is people being sycophantic around him
Yeah.
because I think he can take advantage of that.
Yes.
Like I think he knows how to take advantage of that. And I think what works whenever I see him is just I when I used to be on Twitter, I said something like, "My dog's name is Kirby, but if I ever get, I forget the breed, I'm going to name him Steranko." And
Hmm.
he wrote back, "That's a perfect name for that breed of dog. I forget what the breed was."
Oh, that's
But yeah,
hilarious.
like again, like I don't know that you could do that and like have this guy anywhere else but comics.
No, you're right. I think you're
So
right.
I mean, as much as I that Master Race comic is such a watershed moment for comics and such a watershed moment for page construction and all of it. I think Steranko is the one, in this one because like
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. As
I
much as I
don't,
do love Kriegstein's art style, like I
yeah,
think probably even better than Steranko's technically, but uh, yeah, the personality that comes with Steranko is undeniable.
yeah,
We Kevin Colden, who was one of the artists that had one of the studios when there was like four or five studios at one point in the building I was at. I haven't seen him in a while. He somehow got, and I don't know if it was the art table, but an art table that Bernard Krigstein worked on. It was
wow,
his table. And then when he split, he gave it to Frank Renoso. And then Frank was in my studio, and Frank was working on Bernie Krigstein's art table. I don't know what happened to it,
yeah.
you
I would
know.
imagine Frank still has it. I hope.
I hope he has it still. So I guess Tarinko wins that battle.
And that's a
This
tough
next
one
one,
only because like I couldn't name another Christine story, but that one
yeah,
that I can name is huge.
yeah,
The thing
yeah.
about Steranko is I could probably point to like his Nick Fury, and just be like,
And he made significant,
yeah, absolutely, contribution.
additions to the comics world with
Yeah,
that. So, all right, this next one, Barry Windsor Smith versus Michael Kaluta.
I wasn't expecting Kaluta to be named, and right before you said his name, I almost said Barry Windsor Smith. They're like just to preempt you and just be funny, but then you
Yeah,
said Kaluta, and it's like, God damn it, that's tough. Um, well, you know what? I know what my
or
answer.
Barry Smith versus Barry Windsor Smith. Anyway, just kidding.
Oh boy,
Because
okay.
remember, there was the Barry Smith era of Conan, and then later on he added the Windsor
Mhm.
and became more highfalutin. And he famously did a Wolverine series for, was it Marvel Comics Presents, Weapon
X,
X.
yeah.
Weapon X. He did a great story with a Thing story where Johnny Storm is messing with the Thing.
Yes.
Awesome. And he
He did
what's his masterpiece? Monsters or
Monster,
Mon-
the
that's his
Frankenstein
recent,
kind
that
of.
Fantagraphics finally published.
Yeah.
Oh, and he did Conan and all that stuff. And then Kaluta, I honestly can't tell you what comics like
The
he's
Shadow,
known for. Well, he did
um,
the Shadow.
prior to, and then I think he was more like a cover guy.
He
I mean,
did
I'm trying
covers.
to,
I think he did something for Epic.
yeah,
I believe he did, and I don't remember the name of the comic. But the both of them, the reason why I put them together is because their line quality is very specific.
and they're
It's
very
almost,
similar.
it's almost God. And now I'm thinking, where would I put him? It's almost, it's like in the P. Craig Russell world, and I
Yeah.
need to, you know. But P. Craig Russell was much slicker, I think, you know.
Mm.
But yeah, Barry Windsor Smith, people love his stuff, and Michael Kaluta, you know, again, more of a cover artist that I think did do some narrative.
I feel like he did a Spider-Man story or something at one point.
It's possible.
Paluda, I mean.
Yeah, Kaluta is an Upper West Side guy. I don't remember where Barry Windsor Smith lives. I think he's upstate, if he's in New York.
Mm.
Uh, but the thing is, I'm also like, I was just thinking of different artists to do matchups with, and I don't have a dog in this race at all, you know, between the two guys, you know, except maybe the Weapon X and the Thing story, you know, the Marvel fanfare type
He
stuff that he
did
did.
he did a couple of one-off X-Men issues as well. One was called Life Death, which was when Storm lost her powers, like
Mm.
he had afterward.
Oh, is that where
Absolutely,
she's waking up in bed naked or something? Like,
something like that. Yeah,
oh yeah,
absolutely. Like imagine being 13 years old or however old I was, reading X-Men and just kind of like, wow, she lost her powers and all this stuff, and now she's going down to, and just like seeing this like beautifully drawn, like out of like in between John Romita Jr. Issues, I believe too.
yeah. Yeah,
Like, and just
suddenly this comic pops, right?
yeah,
Like,
like um, I can't like I I also think about Barry Windsor Smith doing Young Gods at Fantagraphics,
oh right,
where it was almost like New Gods. I think it was his version of New Gods or something.
sure. And I've
Uh,
not read those. Like, I feel bad because
they're not. I don't want to say they're not easy to read. They're not the best reads, but
hmm
they are beautiful to look at. Like they're fun,
hmm
like just like taking in like a Greek god on I mean, basically a Greek god on a moped. Like it's just like, oh, what
hmm
a weird thing to do. Like it's just,
hmm
yeah, like I can't, like I can't, like I can't get over how many of his works I've looked at and just been like just breathing, like forgetting to breathe, just
hmm
like taking in the entire painting.
hmm hmm
Um, Paluda, let's see, he did Conan, he did The Shadow, like I said. Starstruck is probably his bigger
That's what I was thinking.
series. He did a couple of Aquamans. I remember that.
Who wrote Starstruck? Was that Elaine somebody?
Yes, it was Elaine Lee.
Elaine Lee. Okay, right.
Um, House of Mystery. So you're looking in the
Yeah.
70s. Like he did a lot of House of Secrets, Madame Xanadu. Um, I just don't think, Kaluta, calling him serviceable is a great disservice. That's not what I'm looking at. I think though, and I don't not appreciate him, but I think Kaluta's the guy that became the guy that you called when you couldn't get Barry Windsor Smith. Does that make sense?
I mean, it does. I don't think that's true.
I don't
I
either,
know
but
what
I
you
mean,
mean, but
like,
I also think that he was the guy. He was very ornate. You know,
yes,
they're both ornate, but Clute is definitely ornate, right?
yes,
So,
yeah.
like when you said Madame Xanadu, famous cover that he drew, it was great. And
Mhm.
like you said, The Shadow and other. And I think like he was just that kind of like there was a lot more like horror and mystery comics back then than
Right.
they have today. And he'd be the guy that would draw, you know, it was like a mystery style, you know,
Yeah,
or
it's kind of terrible in a way that
like a
he's not,
gypsy woman, you know,
yeah,
kind
he's
of.
not getting the work that he should. There's
No,
plenty of,
or he doesn't want to do it, you know.
yeah,
I don't know if it's about. I assume he chooses his jobs, you know, and he doesn't have the career span I think that Barry Windsor Smith has.
he has. I wonder if he's ever worked on like Elric, because Kaluta would make a great Elric.
Yeah, totally.
But
Or you know, any number of those pulp kind of characters, you know, like Doc Savage or
yeah.
you know whatever.
Like I
Um,
said, I literally have lost like like the ability to breathe looking at
Winston
Barry.
Smith. So I think Barry Winston Smith is the
Like
takeaway
just
in
like
this
just
one.
forgetting to breathe because you're so drawn into this one thing,
Yeah.
this one
Yeah.
little piece of art, like on a page that's
Yep.
not even big enough to appreciate. Do you know what I
Yep.
mean? Like it should be
No,
huge,
I know.
and it's like this
I know.
little thing, and you're just like, oh yeah, like just
Yep. Yep. All right, we're gonna do
let's do one
four
more.
more. Let's try to do. Do you want to try to do four more really quick?
Okay, I'll try
Because then
to.
they'll be at the end of this piece of paper, and then
Okay,
we'll move on to the next.
okay, I'll try to keep
All
my
right.
thoughts like
Okay. Well. All right. They're pretty. These are easier ones.
that.
This may be not a good match, but John Severin versus Al Williamson.
Oh, Al Williamson, I think. Al
I'm
Williamson,
more of John Severin guy.
really? I
I
mean,
think
like Al
so, and I
Williamson.
know why you're saying Al Williamson. So Al Williamson, like, actually inked John Romita Jr. on those Daredevil and
Yeah,
Ascent comics, and that was great. But I think he also adapted Star Wars.
he also did Flash Gordon.
Flash
Comics.
Gordon.
I think he did. Don't quote me on this, but I feel like I remember him doing the continuation of another pulp character that like a Milton Caniff type of thing. Like I think he did something like
You mean a strip?
yeah,
Oh, like X-17. Isn't
yeah,
it like
yeah, something like that.
some weird number, like a James Bond type? I think
Right,
you're
right.
right. John, John Severin did a lot of westerns.
Mhm.
And then he was employed a lot during the Axel Alonso years when he was editor in chief to
Yeah.
do like Rawhide Kid or Gay Rawhide, whatever.
Hmm.
He did a lot of. He only got better. That
Yeah.
guy, he was, to me, between the two. And as much as I love Al Williamson, there was more of an economy, I think, to John Severin that I like.
Hmm.
Even though it was a lot of like little kind of noodling, nuanced like stippling, or he could draw again in westerns. You're drawing like sand and trees and horses and everything. And I don't know. I feel like, and it's hard to pick between the two, but I'm going to go with John Severin, and you're going to
Yeah.
go with Al.
Yeah, because my personal aesthetics don't usually go towards Western. Like there's a couple like Blueberry that I like that Mobius did, that are just so. And the reason why I like them is they're so out of left field looking. Like they don't look like your typical John Severin Western. But like Al Williamson did a lot of the sci-fi stuff that I really kind of became.
Sure. And I need to look at more Alan Williamson to be convinced otherwise. The next one, this is a weird little leap I'm making here. Don Heck
Ooh, okay.
versus Ron Frenz.
Hey, I mean, it's not that weird. They're both super reliable guys.
And Don Heck had his own style, and he comes from romance comics, and he had a difficult time drawing superhero comics. But even though I love the way he drew Tony Stark, he wasn't very good at Iron Man. Like he wasn't an action guy. He was a domestic guy. No, he didn't draw the nose. It was earlier than that.
Okay.
And then Ron Frenz kind of was like a Kirby clone for a long time. But he was also, between John Buscema and like, Kirby. But he was also very serviceable. Like, that's a word I would say about, great artists. But I would say Don Heck probably was more distinctful because he wasn't doing Kirby or Ditko. And he was one of the early, what do you call it? Marvel artists, He was in that roster,
I think Sal Buscema inked Ron as well.
Sal Buscema inked Ron?
Yeah, I think on like
that's interesting.
And the reason why I'm bringing that up is only because when you look at Ron's Thor, which is like the Thunderstrike years, where Eric Masterson with the beard and everything, what we look at Thor now with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that the beard is not only the Ultimates version of Thor, but it's also the Ron Frenz Thunderstrike.
And Simonson, who I think gave him a beard for a minute.
Yes, that's true.
And probably was one of the first ones. Yeah.
Now, let's look at Simonson, and then I don't think that Frenz comes on Thor immediately after Simonson, but not too far. It's kind of
Tom DeFalco, Tom DeFalco, Ron Frenz
transition. They're not the same artist and they're not the same style, but like it's kind of like the seamless transition of interpreting Kirby. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. I mean, Simonson, I think it did go to Buscema, Sal Buscema, and
Mm.
then Friends, I believe.
Yeah.
You know,
Now,
um,
but then you look
before that, but years before, well, not years before, but well, actually, maybe right before Simonson, I believe it was Keith Pollard,
that sounds right.
Terry Gamble, maybe.
I don't remember Terry Gamble. I remember
So it might
Terry
have been
Gamble
Pollard. I think it
Spider-Man
was Pollard.
and Superman.
And then there was a shift with Simonson, like the new,
Mm.
with Beta Ray Bill breaking the
Right.
the logo. I'm also thinking right now out loud, maybe it's more of Ron Friends versus Alex Saviuk.
That's interesting. That's a pretty good uh, combination comparison.
So,
Um,
and Saviuk has been doing Spider-Man strip for a while now, I believe.
Now the thing
So,
about Friends that I wanted to point out was, yeah, there was like those Kirby-ish kind of you could see the influence there. But then you look
right.
at Spider-Girl and a lot of the
Oh, right,
Marvel Next titles that he kind of helped
right.
usher, and it's a totally different feel. Like it's more
Hmm.
when you look at what Ron's doing nowadays, he's doing like something called a Blue Baron, uh,
Right.
and it's more like like this kind of, I don't want to say cartoony because it's not that, but it's kind of like this style that is just taking all the best of all of that, you know?
Well, he's doing like a reduction of original Marvel House style.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's what Ron Friend's doing. Whereas Don Heck still like was doing his best, coming from romance comics, drawing, beautiful men and women, but a little bit light on the hero action aspects,
If he
um,
could.
which is not easy to do because whenever I'm looking at action, I'm looking at John Romita Jr. and Kirby and Ditko and John Byrne and maybe George Perez once in a while. I mean, whatever. I look at those guys and go, how do you do this again? You know, because I'm also the guy that drew Harvey Pekar comics.
Yeah.
So I get it. It's a combination.
I
We're
would
gonna
say
end on that, I think,
I would say
because
Ron for me.
between the two, you'd pick Ron.
Yeah, and I was just like flipping through some Don Heck artwork on my phone while you were talking, and I was
Right.
like, yeah, I see where Dean's coming from. I see the romance aspect of it and stuff. Like
Sure.
especially I think I want to say it was Black Widow, like one of the early Black Widow,
Hmm.
with her weird flip hair and style and stuff, and I could see
Right.
it. Um, but I think Ron is just. I feel like I know he would disagree with me, and I talk to Ron all the time. Ron's a really good friend of mine,
Mm.
and I talked, and I feel like he would disagree with me, but I feel like Ron is just not hit his stride yet. Like I know that's weird to sound for somebody that's like like
Well, that's if you're suggesting that he would have to break from the style he came to own, which is again a Marvel House style. It's a combination, I think,
right.
of
No,
all those guys. But I
I,
feel like that is his stride. Like that is
but
his understanding because
I
he's a
mean
little
in
blue
terms of
collar too.
what's that?
He's very blue collar.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So
He's
I
a
think he
business guy.
thinks of it as a job,
Mhm.
not as art.
Mhm.
In that way. Like I'm just doing the job. I'm cranking out I'm serving the story. I'm a deadline artist, and there's this house style. And again, I don't know the origin of that. I don't know why he did that. If he was told that by an editor or Tom DeFalco, or that's what he arrived at and thought that's how I'll get jobs.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just feel like when I say that I don't think he's hit his stride yet, I feel like it's not about style, it's more in terms of pages. I feel like he's got so many more pages to go.
Oh,
You know what I
totally.
mean? Like I feel like,
But not to go to be a pro. Like he's a
not not
pro.
not at all. Like I feel like
More.
we're gonna have more years of Ron's art. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like this
Sure.
conversation can continue. Whereas with Don Heck, we have, I wouldn't say a limited amount of pages, but we don't, like I feel like Ron is just gonna keep going. You know,
Right. Right.
he might be like the Alex Toth, like story where he's at the table.
Right. Wait, the what?
Alex Toth or Wally, well, not Wally Wood. Wally Wood killed himself at his table. But
Oh, at his art table, you mean?
yeah,
Yeah, too many artists have died at their art table, man.
yeah,
I
that's
don't want that
that's
to
the
be
nature.
me.
That's the nature of the industry of anything.
Yeah.
Killing
Well,
yourself for a deadline.
I'm not gonna. I've learned from the best.
Uh,
Right?
yeah, that's a good way to
Ay,
put it.
ay, ay.
All right,
All right.
everyone.
Well, I think we can. I actually have a good cutoff point for where we start next.
Okay, good.
So we're gonna keep it. We're gonna end it here with this, and I guess we will talk again soon.
Next week, as always, just like same bat time, same bat channel, same same. No, I'm not going to say it like that. That doesn't work. That doesn't work for me.
Okay.
Uh, all right, Dean. Have a good night, and thank you everyone for
Okay.
watching.
Jay.
Yay, yay!
Good
We'll see you
night.
guys next time.